This is the Transcend in Life podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson, taking you from fear to freedom.
Hey, what's happening, you guys? Welcome back to Transcend in Life. You are here for a Tuesday tune-up with myself, J.M. Ryerson, and my lovely co-host,
Lisa Ryerson.
Today is going to be an interesting one to cover because I talk about this a lot. You don't seem to have the same challenge. In fact, when I've said your inner dialogue is a jerk, you're like, mine's not. So I guess it'll be interesting to get your take because obviously we all think in our heads, our brains are constantly going. And one of the challenges I've always had is sometimes my inner dialogue is just not very nice. And I know I'm hard on myself. You tell me that all the time, but you don't seem to have this challenge. Is that true? Do you even know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally know what you're saying because I see you going through it. And I'm always like, why are you so mean to yourself? Like, you're really, really hard on yourself, or you take things, how do I put this? Not sensitive, but maybe a little bit. It's a good thing, I think, to be sensitive. I think that you definitely take it more personally when things, when you feel like you messed up. And I feel like it's not that big of a deal. So for example, because we're being vulnerable, as we always are, I can say something very simple like, JM, you forgot to take the trash out. And you just see your whole entire bit, you're like, like you just failed the world. And it's like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'm just making a point like, hey, let's not forget it on Friday because we got a lot of stinky trash up in there.
So we're clear. I don't give two shits about if I took the garbage out or not. That would not be a good example for what's happening in my head, just so we're clear.
Okay.
I think so often, for instance, not succeeding to maybe the degree that my expectations might be for myself. That's when I am hard on myself, no question. And that's where I think maybe you give yourself more of a pass than I give myself. But I guess for those that do struggle with this, because we always have thoughts going through our head. And I always want to make sure, especially for our boys and myself and you, but although apparently you're impervious to any of this, but that whatever you're telling yourself is positive and not negative. That's part of why I always say your inner dialogue can be a jerk. Be mindful of it. Do you have a process if you're ever mean to yourself, or are you just always so positive? I'm curious what goes through your head because mine is not always positive.
Yeah, it's not always positive. Of course it's not, right? That would be, I think, not truthful if I said that. I definitely, there's definitely times where I'm like, Lisa, that was so stupid. Like, I can't believe I did that. And then I laugh it off. Because at the end of the day, we all do stupid things sometimes, right? And I just go, gosh, that was ridiculous. And then it's quite a story. So actually, this is a really funny story. Can I share the story real quick about ballsies?
About what?
Ballsies?
Oh.
Yeah. So I thought it would be really fun it came up on Facebook. They have all these ads to get JM. And it was this ball wash. Right? And it was ball wash. And it was really funny. It was like this Valentine's Day. They have like these cute marketing things for it. It was just hilarious. So I thought it would be a great joke to get for you for Valentine's Day. Well, I ordered it and somehow it went to another app where I had ordered wine for my father-in-law for Christmas. And I do things really fast, right? You always tell me to slow down. I do things way too fast, and I did not check the address on it. And the next thing you know, I press order, and I get an email saying it's getting sent to my father-in-law. The first reaction was like, no. Like, I cannot believe I just did that. Oh, Lisa, what did you just do? To complete just straight laughter. And I called you. And I thought it was the funniest thing. I go, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, I tried to change the address. And so you had to tell your parents. And they thought it was the funniest thing. So now my father-in-law got some ball wash for Valentine's Day from his daughter-in-law.
So those seeing Doug Ryerson walking around, he's a little extra pep in his step. Apparently it's working. Okay, well, it's literally Monday morning, you guys. It's 8 a.m. and we're talking about ball wash. Okay. Let's
Tuesday. Today's Tuesday.
It is. Oh, well, fair enough. We're recording on a Monday. Sorry. Okay. So for those of you that do have this struggle, or when, let's say you are hard on yourself, there's a 3-step process that I like to go through. And the first thing I always ask, is this real? So for instance, if I do screw up, is this real, or am I creating the story in my head? That to me, because here's what's amazing about our brains. They're so creative. However, they're creative both ways, right? Beautifully creative. Look at what man has been able to produce. That's literally something that's been thought up, okay? However, also very destructive patterns at times. So if you do struggle with this, I just want you to stop for a second and ask yourself the question, is this real? Now, we talk about this a lot. The next thing that I like to do is journaling. Can you talk about your process with journaling? Because I know I talk about this a lot. I don't know how frequently people actually put it into play, but it is the best free therapy, in my opinion, available to anyone in the world at this moment is literally journaling. So what's been kind of your experience when it comes to journaling?
Yeah, so I started journaling in college. And I remember, I think it was a good friend of mine at the time that said, you know, it helps to write things down on paper just to get everything out. And I go, oh my gosh. And I'd gone through some trials and tribulations, you know, as we all do in life. And I feel like that's when I journal the most, is when I'm going through challenges, because it allows me to get everything out on paper, all the negative things or challenging things that are going in my head, to write it all down. And it's an amazing feeling, because the second I do it and after I get it all out, it's like, okay, I just felt like I just dumped a whole bunch of baggage, right? Out. Like, okay, that is out of my system. Now I can think with a clear head on how to move forward to overcome this challenge. So I would say probably right now, I probably journal not very as often as I would like, which means I might not have as many challenges, but probably I would say every 2 months, about every other month, you know, I'll have something come up and I'll just write it all out, and it's great. And what's really cool is I've gone back and read some of this stuff. And, you know, one of the toughest times in my life was when my brother had passed away, and I journaled every day during that time. I mean, probably for like a good 6 months. And it was just basically writing letters to him, you know? So going back and reading those are really cool too, to just see how far I've come along, or, you know, where I am in my life, where I was before, and just to reflect on that.
Well, that's something that I think is so important, to reflect, to go back. Looking for patterns is why I like to go back, right? Let's say you were really succeeding, or things were going really well, and you had journaled, you're going to find what you were doing that was keeping you in that space. Similarly, if things are going really crappy, you will find a pattern as well. That's why, to your point, you really journal when you're facing adversity. What I would challenge you to do is journal all the time, because you want to know when things are going really well, why that is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I love to journal. And it's been such an incredible thing for me. The reason people spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on therapists is they're looking for an unbiased opinion. That's why you literally pay somebody to go talk to about your thoughts. Guess what? This paper is unbiased as can be. It has no thoughts. And so when you're able to put this stuff down, I don't care if it's the most vile thing or it's the most incredible thought, there's no judgment coming from this paper. And you're allowing it to get out of your head so that you can stop judging. If you are judging like I do to myself, you put it on paper and it releases it. So I love what you're saying. And I can see you got even teary thinking about your brother, which is, amazing. So maybe you should journal on that because, again, he was an incredible human being. The other thing I like to do, if let's say we've asked, is it real? We've journaled, but then we're still dealing with these, things going on in our head. Find an outlet. So what are some of your outlets that you do just to really, whether that's to reward yourself or to take your mind away? What's some of the activities you do to really get a release?
Yeah, so I would say my top one would be retail therapy. It is amazing how I feel after I get something nice and fun and shiny and new. And it could be super simple, right? Like not even something that it doesn't even have to be something fancy, but like sometimes when I'm having a tough day, I go, you know what? I'm just going to go get an ice cream cone. And it literally makes me feel so much better. Like ice cream is amazing in my world. And I know that helps, our boys too. If they're having a down day, I'm like, hey, let's go get a popsicle. Or, we have this really cute popsicle shop in East Boca that we've fallen in love with. And it's amazing. Like it's our fun time. We go get a popsicle. We feel better. So it's things like that. Another thing, which is really funny, I get pulled and like dragged to the pickleball courts, right? And that I know is like your most favorite thing in the world. And I'm like, oh, and I'm coming up with every reason to not go play pickleball. And I'm like, fine, I'll go for you. And I get there and I start playing and I feel so great after. And I never thought I would admit that to you, but I just did. So that's another outlet, right? Getting out and working out or like doing something. I know walking the dog is another one. Like, it's kind of one of those things like, oh, we have to go walk the dog, but we have a great time.
Well, the reason that works, by the way, why I feel so confident, it's not because pickleball is your thing. It's literally science at play, by the way. Your hormones, you're releasing the positive hormones. That's what's happening. So you can't even fight it. No matter how much you want to stay in a funk or even, let's say, irritated at me for dragging you out there, the hormones are going to take over. That's the whole science behind working out. That's why it's so important, not just physically to be fit, but this is my outlet. That's why I'm going into this. If I'm ever having a challenge or I'm having a bad day, Lisa will immediately recognize, hey, when was the last time you worked out? All right. If I miss a couple days, I know I can become a little bit of a bear, but it's literally just releasing those endorphins. And so it's funny, you kind of kick and scream, but then inevitably once you start moving, that takes over. The hormones take over, and now in a positive way. So yeah, you guys find your outlet, whatever that is. Working out for me is always that solution. If I ask the question, is it real? And no, it's not real, but I'm still in a funk. I journal and I'm still needing something, then I go work out. And by the end of it, I always feel better. It's just the way it is. So one of the quotes that I love, and it's by Lao Tzu, who is an ancient philosopher. He's a lot of times you'll hear me quote this guy, but he says, watch your thoughts because your thoughts become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions because they become your habits. Watch your habits because they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. My point is that all started with thoughts. Literally, if you look at that, it all started with what you were thinking in your head. And that's why I think it's so important to find this release, find a way to stay as positive as possible, right? To your point, you can't always stay positive, but I don't want it to be negative or destructive. So I would love to hear how people go and find their way. If their inner dialogue is being a jerk, where can they send that to us? Yeah,
so email us at anytime at info@letsgowin.com, or make sure to comment on any of our social media outlets, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Let's Go Win 365.
And by the time this releases, we actually will have the Champions Daily Playbook, which will be available on Amazon. So if you're looking for a journal of sorts, It's right there for you guys. Literally, it was developed so that you have this tool at your disposal. It was literally, I was working with clients and I'm like, wait a minute, why don't I just put it in a book form? So hopefully everybody gets a ton of value. I'm excited about it. I think I'm more excited about this than it was even the book, which is kind of weird because it wasn't as much work, but I think it's going to provide more value even than possibly the book. I don't know.
I agree. It's super simple. It takes maybe 2 to 5 minutes a day to get it done, which is what I love. Like if anything's under 5 minutes, I'll do it.
It's true though. I'm the same way with videos, like on Facebook or something. If it's any longer than 3.5 minutes, I'm going to really have to want to do it. That's why I think this playbook should be so helpful for so many people. Anyway, you guys, make sure you're being kind to yourself. And if you're not, use that process. And until next week, continue transcending life. Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to transcendinlifepodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Transcend in Life podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson, taking you from fear to freedom.